In this video, we're going to take a look at setting the contact trigger priority on GeNetix nodes. And this applies to our GN5, GN10 and the variants of GN10, GN10P, GN10R, and also any GeNetix device with a contact input, such as our 10Scene store. If you've not come across the 10Scene store, it's simply like a one-port node. It can store 10 static scenes, but it allows me to do things like have a console connected via 5-pin DMX to either store the scenes or override and take control of the system. Very simple one universe device, 10 scenes on it with console override. But with contact trigger, our default option in GeNetix was always that the contact trigger took priority. In the setup I've got here, I've got 3 GeNetix nodes. I've got a GN5 with a trigger connected directly to it, and behind me 2 GN2s. They're all networked together and currently running from my Magic Q system here. You can see if I come into Magic Q and I change the color of my lights to red, to green, and to blue, Magic Q is in control. It's sending ArtNet out to these nodes, which is decoding and is receiving. The trigger affects the connected device only, so I have a contact trigger connected to this GN5. In its default state, when I hit the trigger, it will override like an emergency override and can trigger a static scene which is stored on the device itself, which in my case here is set this part at the front here now to white. And if I release the scene, it will go back to whatever the console is doing. This is great as an emergency type override, but in other uses, you may want the trigger to be below the priority. The trigger could be something like an occupancy sensor, turn the lights on when I walk into the room, but then allow me to plug in the console and have that override. So the latest option in Magic Q, this is available in our GeNetix 3.4 firmware or higher, so you may need to update your device firmware if you're running older firmware. If I go to my setup window, Net Manager, and go to my GN5 here, go to the options, we have a trigger priority, which I could now set to below the input. When it's set to below the input, I have, of course, control from my Magic Q system here. And if I was to hit the trigger and activate, you'll see that it no longer has any output. My fixture has stayed blue, doing what the console's doing. So I can now change the color of my fixture to red, to green, to blue. And even though the trigger's fired, the console has priority. If I was to unplug DMX, so disconnect from my system, you can see the part at the front here has gone white. It's now gone to the trigger scene because there's no console in the system. If I was to release the trigger, the fixture would go off, activate the trigger again, it comes on. So like my occupancy sensor, the light comes on when I walk in the room. When I connect the console up to the system, I'm going to plug DMX back into the system. So it now receives ArtNet. This will now override and my fixture's gone blue. So available in GeNetix 3.4 firmware, you now have contact trigger priority for your GeNetix nodes with the 10Scene port, which provides me a contact trigger.